Welcome to our world-renowned podcast, Invest in Her. I'm your host, Catherine Gray. I'm a TEDx and keynote speaker and author. Also, I'm executive producer of the movie Show Her the Money. Plus, founder of She Angel Investors and co-founder of the She Angels Foundation. Our weekly show features interviews with powerhouse women founders, funders, and change makers that are sure to inspire you. Let's go. Welcome to this week's episode of Invest in Her. I'm your host, Catherine Gray, founder of She Angel Investors and co-founder of the She Angels Foundation, as well as executive producer of Show Her the Money, our movie that's been traveling around the world globally, talking about the underfunding of women in venture capital. So today we have on a superstar. Her name is Julie Cole, and she is the founder of Mabel's Labels, and she started this business out of her garage, and now it's a multi-million-dollar business. Welcome to the show, Julie. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Catherine.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you because you are an inspiration to so many women entrepreneurs that are out there, probably starting businesses from their kitchen table or their garage, like you did. And I want to talk about your journey, and I want to say, as big accomplishment as that is, your biggest accomplishment is probably that you're a mother of six. Am I right?
Well, yeah, there are six of them, and it is as ridiculous as it sounds when you're also, co-founding a business. And but you know what? They're big now, and I always say to people before they get too excited about the number of kids and too impressed, let's just wait and see how they all turned out. Hey,
The jury's still out. That's what you're
yeah.
saying. Well, listen, that's incredible that you started this out of your garage. And first, I want to talk about what is Mabel's Labels, because I think everybody's going to want to know. I know you have revolutionized durable labels in that market. So tell me about it. What made you decide to make this, and what is it?
So what it is, and it sounds so simple, Catherine, but 22 years ago, we created a label that is dishwasher, microwave safe, and that's personalized. And I know it doesn't sound like anything much, but at the time, again, 22 years ago, I was a recovered lawyer. I didn't think that the traditional workforce was going to suit me anymore. My eldest child had been diagnosed with autism. And at the time, I'd been talking to my sister and two of our friends from college about, we were losing stuff all the time. Our kids were going to daycare, they're going to playgroup, and we were using masking tape and permanent marker. We're like, there's got to be a solution out there, and there wasn't. So we did what good entrepreneurs do, is we found a gap in the marketplace. And so it was those two things, looking to leave the traditional workforce and finding a solution to a problem that parents were dealing with. And that's when we started, and here we are 22 years later, and of course we've expanded to labels. So those original labels were, they go on the bottle, the sippy cup, the wipes container, dishwasher, microwave safe, incredibly durable, highly personalized, and now of course shoe labels and bag tags and fabric labels and allergy alerts. So it's just expanded and expanded over the 22 years.
And it really is usually something that a woman or man finds a need for themselves, and says, "How come nobody's come up with this solution?" And I think those are the most successful businesses where you recognize that, and you're like this aha moment of, how could something so simple not exist, right? And it always is incredible. But you're the one that got that download, and so many people get a download and they don't run with it. And then years later they go, "Oh, look, somebody else did what I thought of." And I've heard that so many times, right?
Many
I'm sure
times.
I'm sure you have too. And everybody's looking at you going, "Why didn't I think of that?"
Well, exactly the number of times that I tell people over and over and again, go through your day, find something that pisses you off and fix it.
It's that simple, ladies.
Yes.
So, I think as entrepreneurs, we always want to know, we want to look at successful entrepreneurs like you and say, how the hell did you get started? So, how did you get funding? How did you get it manufactured? How did you get it distributed? I think those are the things people want to know. So, can you share that with us?
Absolutely. So let's talk about the funding first, because that is a
Yeah.
hot topic, of course, for your podcast. And I will say that we actually bootstrapped. And we did that for a couple of reasons. One was that launching
One was
our
that women don't get funding. How about that one first?
And let's go to 22 years ago when
Yeah.
when we thought about getting funding, we thought, ooh, would we go to a bank? Or, women at that time particularly were just going for what we call love money. We might borrow from our mom or our dad or our, cousin
Yeah.
who maybe is rich, whatever. But it was always the love money from somebody that we knew, right? So first of all, we didn't think it was going to be too expensive to launch our product. And I'll tell you why. Because once we found the technology, and that was harder than we thought it would be, I will tell you that much. But once we found it, remember, it was an e-commerce company. So people would go on and pay for the product before we actually made it. So it's not like we had a bunch of product stuck in inventory or taking up, lots of space. So our money wasn't really held there. The other key for bootstrapping for us was that there were four of us. So we were able to spread the risk around, between me and my sister and our two friends. We're only putting 25% in, and
Right.
that was helpful too. And then as far as,
So, so let
yeah,
me ask you this.
yeah,
So you're bootstrapping it. One of your pieces of advice is you might not want to go it alone. You might want to get a group to all invest in it, right? And then the other that I just heard you say is let people pre-order it so you're not putting out the money ahead of time to create the product. I don't know that that works with all products.
doesn't.
Yeah,
No,
I
no,
don't
it
think
certainly
so.
doesn't. And when you look at
Yeah.
pros and cons of a personalized product, that is one of the pros. One of the cons is if we have a tech issue or something, then I can't pull something off a shelf, which would be nice in those situations. But when it comes to investing too, and I know you've talked about this and you've heard this 1,000 times, but usually somebody wants a piece of the pie. But with four co-founders, I only own a quarter of that piece of the pie. So am I ready to give some equity away? Not necessarily. So all those
Right.
things were kind of considered. The fact that it wasn't too expensive for us to launch. There were four of us, so the risk was spread out a bit, and we weren't ready to give up any equity. So we
And
bootstrapped.
And I love that. And I love that you were able, in this particular case, to not have to really manufacture a lot ahead of time. It was more when they ordered it, which is really cool that you had that opportunity. And the combination between the two was really smart. I think too many people, when they say, oh, I bootstrapped, they're running up their credit cards and borrowing, like you said, too much money. But in order to scale it, did you ever at some point have to take some investment?
It's funny. We didn't, and I think part of the reason for that was that when you create a product or bring a product to market, one of the challenges is that you have to teach the market that they need you. Once our product was out there and people saw it out in the wild, we didn't have to do teaching. Like parents knew about this, and moms, and word of mouth with moms. We talk about products we love like it's our full-time job, right? So they were spreading the news to all of their mom groups. And remember though, this was the days 22 years ago before social media. So we were relying on sort of IRL word of
Yeah.
mouth, and it really worked. And there were times I
IRL
remember
in real life
in
time,
real
right?
life,
Yeah.
there was a time where we thought we need to upgrade our equipment. What are we going to do? And we sat around and we're like, okay, let's do it. And if we have to dip into our savings, are we all prepared to do that? Are we prepared to go without like that family holiday, not upgrade the new car, not have that another child, whatever it was? And we sat
Oh,
around and
you
we're
mean
like,
there
we
would
can
have been
do it.
seven? No, I'm just
Shops closed. So we decided, yeah, we could do it. And the fact of the matter was,
Yeah.
we never had to because we were
Yeah.
able to, the growth in this, it was scaling at a rate that we didn't
Did you
have to
take your
get investment.
Yeah. So did you take your profits and put them back into the company for a while? I figured. Yeah.
We did do that for a while, but that was also something that the four partners had to really come to terms with because, eventually you have to be taking some money as well. Like I didn't
Yeah.
go back to law. One of them didn't go back to teaching. One of them didn't go back to so we're like, well, we still also you have to find that sweet spot of where you're putting back into the company to invest more, but also making it so that you can live and you can still
Yes.
dedicate yourself. So it's okay to pay yourself. And I know a lot of founders have a hard time with that. I did.
Did you ever take like an SBA loan or a loan from anybody? Never,
We
never
never
did.
did.
Wow.
We never did. But it's interesting, Catherine, because, now that I've been at this for 22 years and I do a lot of mentoring, I'm very much a part of that ecosystem. So I work with a lot of female founders, right? And I think, what we're seeing now is finally now we're getting to a point. Obviously we're not getting enough funding, obviously there are not
Right.
enough women VCs, but there are other ways that we can kind of contribute to the ecosystem, through mentoring, through, and I have had a couple of friends who have done big exits, like hundreds of millions of dollars worth of exits,
Which
and
is
they were
why we should be investing in women entrepreneurs.
exactly
It is a great way to build wealth and make impact, right?
100%. And they have turned around and they're only investing in women and, like communities, like,
Mm.
and, joining other groups if you can't do it all yourself, or doing it philanthropically. Like I'm part of a group where I donate a certain amount of money every year. And so do a whole bunch of other people. And we just put that towards, female startups. So
I
there are
love that. Which
ways.
entity is that? Let's share it.
That CEO through
Oh,
Vicky
CEO. I
Saunders.
love
Yeah, do you
them.
know
Yeah.
Vicky? Yeah.
Yeah.
So there
I
are
think they
great
changed
ways.
their name. They changed
You're
their
right.
name, and
You're
I
right,
can
they
never
did.
remember the name of it, but
That's the
uh,
problem with the rebrand.
I know.
But
And I
it's,
love that name CEO, but I think if people
yeah.
Google it, the new name will come up. Wait,
Yes.
Corliss. It's called Corliss now.
Corliss, thank you. Well
Yes.
done. Well
Yeah.
done. Yes. And
Yeah,
there
I
are a
have
lot of that
contributed
that
to
have
that as
changed their
well.
names. I was very involved with one that was called Mompreneurs, and now it's Revolution Her. Like there are a lot who have, evolved, and brands do that, and we stick with them. But it's funny you asked about the manufacturing piece earlier too, because that is something like for us, we were like, oh, dishwasher, microwave safe labels. We should be able to do that. And no. And, those first
Mm.
shows that I went to, and a dad would come up and be like, I could just print this off my computer. I'm like, you go home and try that. I'll see you online when you order your labels. So it wasn't as simple as that. We had to
And
do a lot
excuse
of
me, but
work.
isn't it just like a guy to be telling
Honest,
you, to
don't
be
even with that.
mansplaining to you?
Don't, like, you're going to tell me what we've created, you can just go do on your home computer. Okay, buddy.
Well, I think what you've done is genius, and I know it's revolutionized that industry. And tell us, like, those labels are used on like lunch boxes, like whose lunch it is. Let's say you have six kids.
Right.
This is Johnny's, this is Mary's, whatever. Um, and I know none of those names are ever used anymore.
It's
Dating
all
myself.
Emma and Liam and
Yeah,
Jack. And yeah.
Kennedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but also probably maybe the contents or whose is what, or is it
Right.
the
So
contents like, oh, this is apple juice or like
yeah, so I mean, a lot of the products, what happens is a parent goes online and they'll put like little Johnny Smith, and then they pick a little icon, and then they might get like a combo pack where they've got labels for the shoes, maybe Johnny's starting kindergarten or preschool, and for their waters, and even the teenagers, they've all got those Stanleys. You don't want to be losing those. So we're really, reducing lost and found issues. And we have a lot of really great partnerships with schools and camps. We have a fundraising program. We also collaborate with a lot of, other brands that have a similar but non-competing audience. So maybe a water bottle company and Mabel's Labels will do a co-brand. So there are so many ways to work collaboratively, and we do it, particularly with other, female founded companies, which is always a lot of fun. So there's a lot of collaboration involved. But it is funny too when you think back to those like 22 years ago, being that e-commerce company. At that time, even there were people who were nervous to put their Visa card into the computer machine, right? So
right.
it was like there's been a lot of growth, a lot of change, and as you've seen the evolution in the funding space, there's so much like with tech and with obviously collaborations and social media and affiliates. I mean, I'm here at the Affiliate Summit right now about to speak about, partnerships and different ways, community-led marketing and that sort of thing. So it's been such a blast, like going through these years and seeing our brand evolve and really fill a market need.
And I love what you've done. I think it's brilliant how you've teamed up with schools to utilize these products to be like fundraisers. All of that is ingenious, thinking out of the box of how to expand by being brand partners. I guess you're always looking for brand partners. So anybody listening that, thinks this would be a great partnership for them, especially I would think like, like I want to say like a conference. It's about children's books or something.
100%. And we
Yeah.
do often, like, we attend shows. We'll go to like NACE, which is the preschool, National Preschool Association conference, to connect with people there. We're going to the camp conferences. We do baby shows. I'm always speaking. And that's the other thing too, just being visible and getting out there and showing that your brand is alive. Because I think in these times of AI, customers, particularly moms who do a lot of, like, they're our customer, right? And they
Yeah.
want to trust brands and they want to feel connected to them. That's why I was one of like the OG mom bloggers. And I wasn't blogging about labels. I was blogging about, getting through the day without smelling like baby vomit, like everyone else was, to make those
Yeah.
connections, right? And I think for founders, they have to always remember that being visible and getting out there, and making those connections is so very important. And that's where authentic and real partnerships come from.
Yeah. We're so glad to have you on today because I know you've been on the Today Show and spoken on CNN and you speak at conferences. And we feel really lucky to have you share this info today because your experience can definitely help other founders with their experience. And one of the things I always find fascinating is somebody who's manufacturing a product. I wouldn't know where to begin. It's like somebody's out there, they have a great idea, they want to manufacture it. Where did you start to learn how to manufacture this item? And where are they
Right.
manufactured?
We manufacture them, and we have two locations, one in California, one in Toronto.
Oh,
So
great.
we do, like, literally, when I go to the office, I can walk into the production facility, right? So it started with just doing a lot of research, checking out different printers, having labels on a sippy cup in my dishwasher for a year to see how it would land at the end of it. And those were different times, right? Because we didn't have these systems there weren't podcasts to listen to learn. So
Yeah.
we had to like turn up and test and try these things. And I think now, how different it is for entrepreneurs in the manufacturing space because they can talk to other people who've gone through it. They can find out where they can get, things, a prototype made. They have access to so many different things. And there's people like you that they can talk to about funding, right? There was nobody to talk to about that. We didn't really even know that that sort of thing existed. So I think
Right.
it's so important, Catherine, the work that you do in raising the profile of this topic and the discrepancies that are there because we see them
Thank you.
not only in funding, but we see them in many different places. And how often, even when you look at female founded companies, not very many reach $1 million a year. Not very
Yeah.
many have a big exit, right? So we need
And
to
and the
all work
reason that the
together.
reason they don't reach $1 million a year is because they don't have the money mindset and they don't have the connections and they don't have the funding.
That's
You
right. Because
can't grow a business without it.
that's right. If you get some funding, which then you can get, so maybe you only get 25% of $1 billion.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you're going to get 100% of nothing. What's
right.
better, right? So you're right. But the another thing I really see with a lot of the women I mentor is that we really need to increase our visibility and our confidence. And it's not bragging, going out there, like, women have got to do a better job of, getting out there. It's not bragging by sharing what you've learned and what you've accomplished and what you're going to do. So we really need to work on getting visible and getting in front of people. And then for people like us, send the elevator back down, keep the door open behind you and say,
Yeah.
come on in, I got you.
And 100%. And I love that about you, Julie. It is so much about paying it forward once you've gotten there. That is so important. And, here's the thing. We do have to have women build their confidence and I think one way to do that, and I always share that this is that when you get that download, when you get that idea, that innovation that's going to be game changer for the planet, that you have to be fearless about asking for the funding because you're not asking for yourself. You're asking for that innovation that God given download that you are supposed to create to make the world a better place. And so you have to ask with that conviction that you are not asking for yourself. And I think that one little flip in your mind will make you courageous, right?
Love that. I love that. And
Yeah.
it also reminds me as well that this is a partnership and you want to know who you're getting into bed with. And if you don't want to get into bed with them, they're not for you. And it's okay for you. I know sometimes the shiny object and the money and the funny, you're like, I want to do it. But if it doesn't go along with that person, doesn't fit with your core values, if they don't align with you, I've got a funny story. My friend Joanna Griffiths, who started Nix, and she did a big exit. When she was going for funding, she was expecting twins. And whenever somebody asked her how the heck she was going to manage, well, having a young family, she just got up and left. She's like, you're not my partner.
Oh my
And
God,
I
I
have
love
to
her
remind
already.
people, we're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing us. We want to make sure
Yes.
it's a right fit, correct?
Right. You know you have a great idea. They know you have a great idea. But for them, they have to believe in you and they have to be like-minded. I could not agree more. We are so aligned. Don't take just any money. Take money from people who fuel you and believe in you and are cheering you on, and they see it, your vision the same way you do. So many times I've heard people say, "Oh, this person came and offered me money, but they wanted me to completely revamp my vision." And it's like, "Oh no, don't walk away from your vision. It's your vision, and they need to see your vision and be on board." So, great advice.
Definitely need that alignment, Catherine. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So, Julie, thanks so much for sharing your story today. It's been really great. And how do people find you online? Are you on LinkedIn? What's your website?
Yeah, look, I'm in all the places. Of course, you need to check out mabelslabels.com, but also if you go to mabelslabels.com/Julie Cole, you can see links to, my book, where I'm at, what I'm doing. And I am a big fan of LinkedIn, so I can be found there under my name. And I'm in all the places, Instagram, Facebook, blah, blah, blah. But easy enough to
Okay.
find. Thank you, Catherine, so much for having me and for all the incredible work that you are doing.
Thank you. And what's the name of your book?
It's called Like a Mother, Birthing Businesses, Babies, and a Life Beyond Labels. And it's full of all my hacks.
I love that. I love that. That is awesome. It's Julie Cole, Cole, for those of you just listening in and not watching. Thank you so much for being a great guest. Everybody, you can, of course, visit our websites. Sheangelinvestors.com has a lot of free resources with experts. And also check out our movie, showherthemoneymovie.com. We're going to be launching on Amazon and Apple TV in March, Women's History Month. But meanwhile, we've been traveling around the globe doing in-person group screenings. You can still book that. I believe the magic is in having everybody watch it on the big screen together and talking about how we're going to change venture capital and get more women funded. We do know, right, Julie, that the research shows women do tend to be more profitable, quicker exits. We make a great investment. So everybody needs to take a look at that opportunity of alternative investing in venture capital and in specifically women entrepreneurs. Julie, thank you so much. Everybody, thanks for tuning in and make it a great week.